Hello ELC, hello SU Entrepreneurship. So glad to have everyone kind of virtually together again. It's nice to have some semblance of being together, even though we're not physically together for the retreat. It's nice to be gathered virtually to discuss and figure out how we can better serve the students here at SU. So thank you for being here. Obviously, thank you so much, ELC, for your time, your attention to the students, for your commitment to them, for your advice, for your instruction, your wisdom. We're forever grateful for the ELC because they're truly what's made this program tick and work in a way that it's been able to progress and grow like it has. And so thank you very much. In sad news, I actually recorded this just a few minutes ago, and it was about 13 minutes long, and I went back and watched it, and for the first 5 minutes we had audio, and then we lost audio. So I got rid of my microphone because I was using that before, so I apologize if the sound's not quite as clean or crisp as it would be normally, but we're going to do it this way so we don't have a hiccup with the microphone. So obviously today I'm going to talk a little bit about student tracking, mentoring, etc. I'm just going to leave this the way it is so we don't mess up any audio. So we're not going to be in full slide presentation mode. But let's talk a little bit about what we're doing here in terms of tracking, etc. Okay, so the real question that we've had kind of over the past 2 years, really, since I've been here, is how do we better track our students? How do we better track those students that come in and have ideas or have businesses, so that we can better help them, right? And so the positive thing about all this is that we're getting a steady flow of new entrepreneurial students seeking the mentoring, looking for mentoring, asking for help, and that's just growing and growing and growing over time. Even this summer, as we've kind of all been quarantined, so to speak, and we've been in our own separate places, I've had many students reach out to me over the summer and say, hey, can we jump on a Zoom call and let me ask you a few questions, etc., right? And so that's been really positive and really encouraging to see. In the past, what we did is when we met with those students, we just manually updated that in a spreadsheet, right? Put their name in, other information about the student, what they were talking about, what kind of business they had, etc. Unfortunately, that's just really not sustainable from an individual standpoint or even with student workers, just due to our turnover. And we just found things were falling through the cracks because we weren't keeping up with that. And then we've also had the challenge of trying to streamline the ELC mentoring assignment process, both assigning students and then also keeping up to speed with the ELC as they mentor those students and help their businesses grow, just keeping kind of a status update with that as we move along. So what we decided to do is implement this new software, not new to the world, but new to SU, is ActiveCampaign, and maybe some of you have used it. Essentially what it is an autoresponder. It can send automated emails, texts, etc., and it has a bunch of other features that will be used as we track students. And the software really combines student tracking with the automation and then the ELC assignments and the kind of tracking the mentoring that's taking place there. Okay. The automated follow-up, I don't want to get too technical as I talk about it, but really what that is just, like I mentioned before, a student's going to come into the entrepreneurship world. Maybe that's a meeting with me, maybe that's filling out a questionnaire regarding their business. And what's going to happen is their information is going to be plugged into ActiveCampaign either by me manually or through the system as they schedule and fill out a questionnaire. And once they're in there, those students will be assigned campaigns, essentially automated campaigns, and really all that is just a sequence of emails or texts or both that are sent out to that student over a period of time. And we intend to kind of break those down into semester chunks so that when a student comes in, they can be followed up with and contacted over the semester period so that the entrepreneurship center and the department stays at the forefront of their mind. So they stay reminded about their business, about their idea, and what it is they want to work on. And so that automation with email and text is intended to do that. It's also intended to kind of gauge their interaction. So how involved are they in terms of their interaction with the emails or the text? Are they responding to us? Do they still need help? Are they dropping the idea? Are they moving on to something different? That interaction is going to help us understand their needs, understand how serious, how committed they are, which will then in turn help us understand when and why and where they need mentorship, right? Beyond myself or the department, when we can actually assign ELC members to take them under the wing and help them grow their business, right? Or expand on their ideas. Finally, and so that takes out a lot of the legwork, right? So finally, we're going to add tags to those students depending on how they respond to these sequences. And again, not getting too technical, but technical enough that it's going to help streamline some of this process. And those tags will help us understand, again, kind of that commitment level, how interactive they are, what they might need help with versus another student, okay? And so that's kind of the automated follow-up sequence that's going to help us gauge those needs in terms of help, assistance, advice, as well as mentorship. Here's kind of the proposed tracking sequence. And again, this is not set in stone, and if you have suggestions or ideas or comments, likes, dislikes, please feel free to share those. But really what it is the student's going to meet with me. They're going to either schedule online, or they're going to email me and schedule, or they're going to drop in, and typically I make them fill out a questionnaire regarding their business or their idea. That's going to automatically go into ActiveCampaign, or I'm going to manually upload it there. And once they're in ActiveCampaign, that student's now in that automated sequence, right? So they're going to be assigned a sequence that's going to be pretty generic for any new student that comes in asking for help. And really all that's going to do is just going to be a point of contact where we can stay in the forefront of their mind. We can ensure that we understand their needs. We can ensure where they're at in their business or their idea so that we can give them the very best help that we can, whether that's through advice, information, or most importantly, through ELC mentorship, right? And so long as the student's staying engaged and progresses to a point where ELC mentorship is absolutely what they need next, then that's what we would do. The student's going to be assigned an ELC member, and typically how we've done that in the past is just Tyler, myself, Christina, we kind of have a discussion about that with students and what ELC member might fit best. And that's the part where I'm like, it's not set in stone. If we have a better methodology of deciding on that or understanding how to better assign people to certain ELC members, I'm totally open to that, because I think that's another big component of it, is making sure we make the right assignment so that there's a cohesiveness and they can really progress and grow in a significant way. And so that's a discussion to be had, certainly. And then an ELC mentor is going to be assigned inside of ActiveCampaign. So when I say that, is I've actually added all the ELC members inside of ActiveCampaign as quote-unquote users in ActiveCampaign. So when I assign you to a particular student, you will be notified saying, hey, this student's been assigned to you. You're going to be able to access all their information, all the information we've put into ActiveCampaign in terms of their business, their idea, where they're at, what their status is, what they need to do next, etc. So you can see all that kind of as an informal introduction before you have an email conversation or a phone conversation with that student. And so that'll kind of help you transition into full-fledged mentorship with that student, which I think will be beneficial. And then you can even, as an ELC member, update that student's information or that business information as you meet with them every month or every couple weeks or whatever it is. You can actually update that information inside of ActiveCampaign, which then helps the entrepreneurship program also stay up to speed on where that progression is going, what they might need help with, if it's something outside of their ELC mentorship, if there's something the program can give them, right? Finances or advice or help or connections or network or whatever it is, right? So I think this will ultimately help the ELC mentorship, the program, and the student work more seamlessly together, more cohesively together, so that we can understand their needs and hopefully better serve them, right, as students seeking these entrepreneurial ventures, right? And so that's kind of the idea behind it. And that's that kind of the proposed tracking sequence. Again, that's not set in stone. This is just kind of how I foresee it happening. And I think we'll tweak and change as we move along, certainly. But that should give you kind of an idea of how I see that working, so to speak. And then finally, like I mentioned, I've added all the ELC members as users inside of ActiveCampaign. You're going to be able to update the student, the business information in there. Now, I'm not sure yet if ActiveCampaign will let us give you full-fledged access as like an admin to do everything inside of ActiveCampaign yet. But you'll certainly have enough access to be able to go there and update information about the student or business that you're working with, right? And again, just to reiterate, I think the centralized database is going to help the program, the ELC, and the student be more on the same page together so that we can work more cohesively together and hopefully better serve the student, right? Because I think this is where we got lost in translation a little bit in the past, is that we made an assignment with an ELC, or maybe we didn't, and we didn't follow progress as well as we should have with students, and so we didn't understand their needs, and so maybe they drop off the map in terms of, maybe I'm not so worried about the entrepreneurship program or my idea or my business in general, because I got to focus on other things. And I think just staying in the forefront of their mind, being on the same page collectively as a group, understanding their needs more specifically, are going to help us provide an even more valuable experience for them as a student at SU, but specifically with the entrepreneurship program. And that's really my hope behind using all this. I don't want to get super technical. I don't want to make it really complicated in terms of tags and automation and all those things, but it will take out some of that legwork to help us, again, stay in the forefront of the student's mind, serve them in a more serious, more valuable way, and then hopefully see a lot more success with their businesses and with the students that seek and need our help. So if you have questions, again, feel free. I want to have a discussion about it, certainly. Obviously, some training and some information will have to go along with this in terms of how you're going to see notices and interacting with the ActiveCampaign generally, right? But I'm going to try to make it as simple and straightforward as possible for an ELC member to go in there and update and get an introduction to a student without having to be too technical or too crazy in terms of how we're using it. So thank you again. Appreciate your time. Look forward to having more discussions about it. Thanks.